You lie still. The world around you is quiet now. Outside your window, the night stretches deep and dark, wrapped in velvet silence. And above you, stars blink into place like tiny candles scattered across a vast and endless ceiling. The sky looks empty, but it is not. Between those points of light, between the stars and the cold, quiet moon, thousands of small, silent travelers drift. They do not shine like stars. They do not glow like planets. Yet they are there, weaving their paths across the solar system, unseen by most. They are asteroids, wandering stones, ancient and unassuming, quietly circling the sun. Each one is a world of its own, no larger than a mountain or even a house, and yet so old, so untouched, they feel like time itself given form. Some are jagged and sharp, like broken glass from a cosmic window. Others are round and pitted, their surfaces softened by millions of years in the cold. They tumble slowly, pulled by nothing but gravity and momentum, their journeys silent and sure. You imagine one now, a lonely rock the size of a city block. It spins gently as it drifts, catching glints of distant sunlight. Its surface is dusty and scarred, marked by tiny impacts and frozen winds. It has no name, no sound, and yet it has seen more than any human ever could. It was here before Earth had trees, before the moon was born, before our oceans rose or our continents formed. It remembers a sky filled with fire, a time when the planets themselves were still taking shape. You breathe in, imagine, holding such a thing in your hands, a piece of space, unspoiled by weather, untouched by life. A fossil from the beginning of everything. A message written in stone, waiting patiently in the darkness. And though we call them rocks, asteroids are not lifeless, not really. They are keepers of memory, vessels of possibility, messengers from the edge of time. They form a great belt between Mars and Jupiter, scattered ring of countless fragments, orbiting like dancers around a silent ballroom. Some travel alone on elliptical paths that bring them close to Earth, then sling them far beyond the moon. Others cluster in hidden groups. You picture the early solar system 4.5 billion years ago, a swirling disk of dust and gas collapsing into light. The sun ignites, and out of that storm, planets begin to gather, pulling matter toward them, growing round, forming cores. But not all matter finds a planet. Some of it never settles, never fuses, never falls into orbit around a greater body. They are original, unblended, pure. If planets are baked cakes, asteroids are the raw flour and sugar, still separate, not just stars and galaxies, but dust, stone, and time. And in those asteroids, drifting quietly far above you, are clues to where we came from, what we are made of, and maybe where we are going next. Some are made of metal, heavy and dense, born from shattered cores of early molten worlds, of life, and some, perhaps most magical of all, carry water, trapped in minerals or frozen in pores. Water, billions of years old, waiting in the dark. You exhale slowly. Imagine that train that never fell, ice that never melted, a kind of cosmic glacier drifting through silence. And though these asteroids are cold, there is warmth in what they carry, the potential for fuel, for farming, for future life among the stars. They are more than rocks. They are resources, relics, relatives. One day, Perhaps soon, humans will reach them, not just to study, but to gather, to mine, to live. But tonight, for now, you just listen. Listen to the slow spin of orbits, to the quiet truth of motion. Everything moves, even the things we cannot see. Even now, above you, thousands of these small worlds glide by, unbothered by time. Some are close enough to reach with a long journey. Others live far beyond, near Jupiter, or even further out, in the frozen Kuiper belt. But all of them are part of our home, our solar system, our celestial family. And while many people look up and only see stars, you now know the truth. The night sky is not empty. It is full of secrets, floating in silence. It is full of beginnings that never ended. And in that dark sea of space, a new question begins to stir, rising quietly like morning fog. Where did these silent stones truly come from? What ancient fires forged them, and what stories do they carry in their frozen cores? As you drift into sleep, that thought drifts with you, light as dust, old as time, waiting patiently for the next whisper of cosmic memory. You breathe in slowly. The stars feel closer tonight. The quiet sky above you is still, but you know now, not everything above is distant and cold. Some of it is old. Some of it is memory, frozen and drifting. And some of it is fire, long before Earth cooled into oceans and mountains. The universe was loud and wild. You picture it now. A young sun, glowing fiercely, spinning in a whirl of dust and gas. Around it, the solar system is just beginning to take shape. There are no planets, yet only the ingredients of them. Clouds of particles swirl, crash, stick together, and break apart. The heat is everywhere. Heat from the newborn sun. Heat from collisions. Heat from the energy of creation itself. Small rocks melt and fuse. Larger ones begin to form, heavy with metal, warm with inner fires. And yet, not everything becomes a planet. Some pieces drift away. They spin off from the chaos to small, to gather gravity, to wild, to settle. These pieces do not become worlds. They become wanderers. They become wanderers. They become asteroids, and each one is shaped by fire. You imagine one, close up, a rough surface, black and scarred. It holds tiny beads of melted rock, whence liquid, now glassy and cold. These are chondrules, the ancient drops of molten dust, frozen in time. You run your hand gently in your mind over this surface, feeling how the past has hardened into stone. Some asteroids are leftovers, clumps that never had the chance to grow. Others are remnants, shattered parts of early planets that were torn apart by violent impacts. Imagine a young world still forming, struck by another in the crowded lanes of the solar nursery. A burst of heat, a scatter of fragments, and from the ruins, pieces spin into the void. In those fragments is fire. In those fragments is history. You feel your breath again, slow, deep. The warmth you feel in your chest mirrors the warmth of those early days. Even now, some asteroids hide heat in their cores, leftovers of radioactive decay or pressure or past collisions. Inside, they whisper faint warmth into the cold of space, and yet they do not burn. They glow inwardly, silently, like coals in the dark. One type of asteroid, the M-type, is rich in metal, iron, nickel, heavy things, forged in the hearts of broken protoplanets. They are pieces of ancient cores, very centers of baby planets that never finished growing. As you rest your head and close your eyes, you imagine them drifting, quiet iron worlds, small but strong, like lost heartbeats of the early system. Others, the C-types, are carbon-rich, darker, softer, filled with the dust of stars. They are older, untouched, carrying the same materials that floated in the early solar fog. They smell, if they could, like clay and charcoal. And inside them, sometimes, are traces of water. Not lakes, not rivers, but tiny, frozen droplets, clinging to the minerals like morning dew, and that water you will come to know means everything. But for now, let your thoughts return to the fire, because everything you see, everything you are, begins with it. The elements that make up your bones and breath were born in stars, scattered by explosions, gathered in clouds, and those clouds, in time, became the spinning disk around our sun, the same dust that made Earth, made the asteroids. We are cousins, you and they. You are made of the same ancient ash dot. So when you look at the sky and imagine those quiet stones, you are not imagining strangers. You are imagining your own story, a story that begins with flame and silence and time. The asteroids do not rush. Their orbits are slow, steady, measured. It can take years for one to circle the sun, centuries to shift paths, millennia to change shape. Their patience is a kind of wisdom, a reminder that not all journeys need to hurry, and in their stillness, there is a lesson that creation is not always grand. Sometimes it is small, sometimes it drifts, sometimes it is a single stone carrying a spark of a world that could have been. You breathe again. The warmth of your body, the softness of your blanket, the rhythm of your heart, they all echo that ancient heat, the heat of collisions, the heat of birth. And as you begin to drift toward sleep, one final thought flickers like an ember. If these tiny worlds are shaped by fire, what might they carry within? What treasures might lie hidden in their silence? Out in the quiet black, a stone turns slowly. It makes no sound. There is no wind, no air to carry vibration. But within it lies something extraordinary. Beneath the dust and craters, hidden in the frozen silence, are treasures beyond your imagination. Not just wealth in the way you might know it, not simply gold, or platinum, or rare metals, but the kind of treasure that sustains life, that powers futures, that changes what is possible. You let your eyes close, your thoughts lift, like gentle smoke, rising above the earth and drifting toward those silent stones. Many asteroids are poor in appearance, gray, jagged, scarred by time. But beneath those quiet surfaces are elements that shimmer unseen. Platinum group metals, rare on Earth, are relatively common here. Iron and nickel glint through cracks like veins of promise. These metals are born from ancient heat, from the shattered cores of long-lost protoplanets. They float now, alone, waiting. On Earth, such materials lie deep beneath crust and rock. Mining them scars the land, moves mountains, leaves marks. But here, in space, the stone is already bare. The crust is open. Nothing hides the wealth, no forests to cut, no rivers to divert. Just metal resting in silence, waiting to be noticed. And it's not only metal. Some asteroids carry carbon, organic molecules, precursors to life. In their shadows, you find hints of Earth's own beginning, and still more mysterious, some carry water, You picture it now. A stone no larger than a building, drifting beyond the moon. Inside its porous body, specks of ice lie trapped frozen since the birth of the solar system. That water, untouched, unspilled, waits like a sleeping seed. And in space, water is more than thirst. Water is fuel. Water is breath. Water is survival. You float gently through this thought. In the dark of space, where nothing grows, this quiet rock offers a spring, a place to pause, a place to launch again. Imagine a spacecraft lands softly on its surface. Machines unfurl like petals, drawing power from the sun. Robotic arms dig gently into the dust. Ice is warmed, melted, turned into vapor, then into rocket fuel. From that one motionless rock, a journey is born. Perhaps to Mars, perhaps farther. This is the treasure of silence. It is not loud, it does not shout, but it waits, patiently, holding what the future might need. You exhale slowly. Your breath reminds you of vapor, of air reclaimed from nothing. The thought is soothing. Technology becomes nature again. Science becomes survival. Back on Earth, gold has always drawn us, in rivers, in mountains, in the dust of deserts. But gold has always been about more than shine. It is a symbol of energy, value, potential. Now, in these small space rocks, gold is not metaphor. It is real. There are asteroids, some already known, that carry hundreds of billions of dollars in precious metals, more than entire nations have ever mined. And yet, the value is not only in what we bring back. The value may be in what we leave there, what we build from. A space station built with asteroid metal, a fuel depot carved from a water-rich rock, a garden shaded by the hollowed shell of an ancient traveler. The treasure is not just in riches, it is in possibility. You turn slowly in your mind, drifting past spinning stones. Each one is a capsule of potential. Some will never be touched. Others will change everything. The challenge, of course, is how. These asteroids move quickly, tumbling in paths that curve and shift. Some come close to Earth, others never will. Landing on one is like jumping onto a moving train in the dark. Digging into it is harder still. But each year we grow closer to trying. You picture a tiny spacecraft, not much larger than a suitcase, sent to sniff, to map, to study. You see drills that hum softly in the vacuum, containers filled not with gold coins, but with powdered regolith, glimmering with iron, a quiet kind of harvest, a patient, deliberate collection. Mining, but not as we know it. It is more like listening to what the rock allows, to where it is soft, to how it turns, respecting the silence of something older than mountains. You imagine holding a pebble from space, cold at first, but warming slowly in your palm. It is heavy, and yet light, not in mass, but in memory. You wonder how far it has traveled, what it has seen, what forces shaped it, broke it, cooled it. This tiny thing, holding pieces of stars, pieces of worlds that never formed. You open your hand and let it float. The treasures of the solar system are not waiting in vaults. They are spinning in open space, in plain sight. If only you look, if only you learn how to reach. And in time, we will, with care, with curiosity, with awe. And when that day comes, what will we find? Coins and crystals, water and oxygen, or perhaps something stranger, something hidden not in stone, but in the way the universe arranged itself. You close your eyes. The silence deepens. The asteroid turns quietly, and as it does, you begin to wonder. You close your eyes and listen. In the quiet of your thoughts, a faint sound stirs. Not a sound from earth, not wind, not rain, but something quieter, more delicate, like the soft trickle of melting ice, deep in a place without air, without trees, without rivers. A place between planets, where the silence is ancient and the cold is deep. Out there, far from clouds and seas, water still exists, not in oceans, not in puddles, but hidden, locked away, tucked inside small stones that drift through space. Some asteroids, gray and unshaped, carry ice deep within them. Ice that formed before Earth had its first raindrop. Ice that never melted. Ice that never flowed. Picture it now. A dark rock, tumbling slowly near the edge of the asteroid belt. Its surface is dry, dusty, cracked. But inside, deep inside, is something waiting. Frozen molecules held in pockets of clay and mineral. Water so old it remembers the moment the sun was born. In space, water is life. It is more precious than gold, more powerful than fire, because water becomes air. Water becomes fuel, split into hydrogen and oxygen. It can power rockets. It can grow plants. It can breathe. It can carry life farther than it's ever gone. You drift gently through this idea, as if floating weightless in a sleeping capsule. You see future explorers, curled in silver vessels, traveling through darkness. Their journey isn't rushed. They move slowly, across weeks, months, years. And along the way, they stop not at planets, but at these quiet stones, these frozen reservoirs, these way stations made of ancient ice. Machines land first, like bees, finding flowers. Vapors rise, collected and cooled, turned into water again. That water is filtered, cleaned, and shared. It becomes breath. It becomes tea. It becomes the next step. With water, you don't just survive. You travel. You launch again. You refuel in the middle of space, like lighting a candle from another. One asteroid at a time, we stretch farther, not in leaps, but in soft, steady steps. You breathe slowly. You feel your own lungs expand, your chest rise. The air you take in feels simple, but it is sacred. A miracle made of water. Even here on Earth, water makes breath. Trees drink it, leaves open because of it. Clouds form, fall, rise again. And above all this, asteroids drift, carrying the same molecule, unchanged. Some are rich in carbon compounds, where water hides like dew on ancient coal. Others contain minerals that trap moisture like sponges, and some are icy all the way through, like comets with solid hearts. These are not just rocks, they are wells. They are waiting. There is a word for this kind of mission, in situ resource. You only need the picture, a stone in space, a hand reaching, a drop of water drawn from dust, a life sustained. You drift deeper into this dream, because maybe one day we won't carry water with us. We'll find it out there. We'll stop seeing Earth as the only oasis. We'll build new ones, drop by drop, orbit by orbit. We'll quench the thirst of a growing species, not by drilling deeper into our own planet, but by reaching up, and as you rest, you imagine that trickle again, the sound of ice warming in sunlight, slow, patient, inevitable. Like all things in space, it doesn't rush. You think of astronauts gently gathering vapor, sealing it away like treasure. Of machines breathing in what the rock gives back. Of a cup of tea made from comet water. Of a greenhouse on Mars, its roots fed by melted asteroid ice. This isn't science fiction. It is science, unfolding gently in real time. Already, spacecraft. Within those grains, evidence of water. Proof that even the driest-looking places can hold moisture. Even the most distant rocks can offer nourishment. You imagine Earth from space now, blue, spinning, wet, and around it, the solar system a wide, quiet ocean of rock and light, but not empty, not dry, not dead. In the vastness there are springs, and perhaps, in time, we will chart them, not with drills, but with patience, listening, learning, asking the rock, what do you hold, and how can it help us grow? You breathe again, and as your mind floats in the rhythm of your breath, a thought ripples softly. What else might these wandering stones offer if they carry water? Could they carry something even more powerful? You lie still, but your mind moves. It floats beyond the walls of your room, past the clouds, and into the quiet black where everything drifts. You imagine an asteroid, not resting, but racing. It spins as it flies, a wild tumble through nothing. No brakes, no anchor, no pause. Catching such a world seems impossible, and yet we try, because asteroids, for all their silence, are not still. They orbit the sun, fast and free, speeding tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. Some swing close to Earth, others loop far beyond Mars. Each one follows its own path, carved by gravity and time, like a leaf blown by a billion-year-old wind. You picture one now. It's no bigger than a building, shaped like a potato, spinning like a coin tossed in slow motion. It doesn't know it's being watched. But far away, a spacecraft listens. It waits, it calculates, and then, gently, it fires its thrusters, not to crash, not to destroy, but to meet. This is what it means to catch a moving world. You match its rhythm. You slow down, speed up, twist, and follow. You learn its dance. It takes years. Missions like Hayabusa, OSIRIS-REx, and Rosetta plan for a decade to reach a single rock. They rely on tiny burns of fuel, slingshots around planets, and precision. That feels almost like art. One mistake, and the asteroid is gone, lost, unreachable. But we are patient. When OSIRIS-REx arrived at Bennu, it didn't land right away. First, it watched. It mapped every hill and pebble. It circled like a bird, learning the shape of wind. Only then did it reach out a short touch, a soft kiss on the surface. And in that brief contact, it gathered ancient dust. You imagine holding that dust, not heavy, just a few grams, but within it, carbon, water, the echoes of birth. A story from before there were eyes to see it. To catch a moving world, you must learn humility. These stones have been in motion longer than we've existed. We are the visitors, the newcomers. We must approach with care, with awe. It's not about domination. It's about understanding, about finding harmony with motion. You drift deeper into this idea. The silence of space is not stillness. It is movement without sound. Every asteroid spins, some fast, like a wheel, some slow, like a turning tide. Some tumble, their paths erratic, their paths marked by collisions. They are shaped by chance, by gravity, by ancient impacts, by close brushes with planets. They wobble like memory. They sway like forgotten songs. And we, fragile humans, dare to follow. We build machines that fly for years to meet a stone no one has ever seen. We write code that adjusts for sunlight pressure and distant gravity. We sculpt robots that can fold, unfold, balance, cling. It is not brute force. It is grace. It is gentleness, translated into metal. Imagine a net, not made of rope, but of math and solar panels. A net that doesn't capture, but synchronizes. It doesn't stop the motion, it joins it. That is the future of asteroid catching. Not traps, not spears, but orbits that link, like dancers meeting mid-air. Some designs float beside the asteroid and use soft puffs of gas to collect dust. Others wrap arms around their target, hugging the surface. Some spin with the asteroid, becoming one with its movement. These are not ships. They are partners. And still others imagine the future. Great sails catching sunlight. Swarms of drones mapping surface temperature. Habitats carved into rock. You float in this dream, seeing future people sleeping inside hollow asteroids, protected by their mass from radiation. Travelers riding stone through space. It sounds like fiction, but it's not. NASA and private companies already plan to capture small asteroids, redirect their paths, and study them in lunar orbit. The goal is not conquest, it's practice. Practice for bigger journeys. Practice for Mars, for mining, for understanding our place in the moving fabric of the solar system. Because motion is the rule, stillness is rare. Even Earth moves, rotates, orbits, spins. You feel still now, but you are flying around the sun. You are already in motion. You are part of this dance, and maybe that is why catching a moving world is so beautiful. It reminds us nothing stays in place. Everything turns, even the stars. You breathe again, a little deeper, a little slower. Imagine reaching out your hand in space, and instead of grabbing, you match your speed. You drift beside the asteroid. You float with it. You are not separate anymore. The asteroid becomes your home for a moment, a moving platform, a fellow traveler. And from its back, you launch again, not to conquer, to continue. You feel your thoughts soften, becoming quiet like the void. And as you begin to drift into rest, a gentle Euston lingers in your mind. You rest in your bed, but far away, a machine wakes up. It doesn't breathe, it doesn't dream, but in the stillness of space, it hums softly to life. Panels unfold like petals in the sunlight. Cameras blink open. Little legs stretch out, grasping a surface that is both strange and ancient. This is not Earth, not even the moon. It is an asteroid, small, quiet, alone, spinning through the dark. And this little robot, no taller than a child, is our first explorer. Humans built it. But it walks without us, moves without our hands. It is a whisper of our curiosity, sent ahead like a message in a bottle. While we sleep, it learns. You imagine it crawling across dusty rock, adjusting to low gravity, keeping balance in a place where falling is not falling, but floating. It plants tiny anchors into the surface. It drills slowly, carefully, like a gentle visitor, not a conqueror. This is how we begin. Before humans build with asteroids, before we mine or shape or dwell within them, we must first understand. And robots are our scouts, Small, silent, tireless. They go where we cannot yet go. They feel where we cannot yet touch. Some resemble spiders, with many legs for stability. Others are shaped like cubes or spheres, bouncing across the surface. In hops, there are drills and scoops and sniffers, cameras that see beyond light, instruments that read heat, measure mass, sample dust. You picture one now, gently unfolding like origami, its sensors tasting the airless silence, its radio antennae reach toward Earth, sending soft pulses across millions of miles, and we listen. A signal takes minutes to arrive, but it comes, like a heartbeat in the dark, a message saying, I'm here, I'm working, I'm learning. These machines don't sleep, they don't eat, they run on sunlight and precision. Every move is a dance with gravity, every action timed and tested. Sometimes they fail. A landing is too hard. A drill sticks, a signal fades, and still we send more. Because each one teaches, each one prepares the way. You imagine a future moment, many robots together, not alone anymore, a team. Some collect samples, some analyze, some build platforms, some carry pieces from place to place, like ants making a nest. In this dream, the asteroid becomes alive with gentle movement, not noisy, not rushed, just the quiet motion of machines at work. Machines that serve thought, that expand human touch. And from Earth, people watch. Scientists, engineers, children, they study the data, read the patterns, imagine the next step. What material is strong? What surface is soft? Where is the ice? How deep is the metal? These questions matter, because one day we won't just visit, we'll stay. But before we build homes in the sky, we must build trust. Trust in the rock, trust in our machines, trust in our understanding. Robots are our bridge. You breathe slowly now, and in your mind, a small robot waves from a shadowed ridge. It has no face, but you feel its message. It says, there is more to see. Come when you're ready, and maybe soon we will be. You drift further into sleep, carried by the hum of distant machines, busy among the rubble of stars. And as those machines learn and build, quietly and far away, you wonder what kind of homes we might one day make from stone and silence. You drift into quiet thought. Your breath deepens. In your mind, a single rock floats through space. Not remarkable in size, not shimmering or glowing, just gray, scarred, cold. Yet inside, it holds more wealth than entire nations. This is an asteroid, and hidden within it platinum, nickel, cobalt, gold, not specks, not traces, but tons. Enough to rewrite markets, shift economies, build new industries. But in space, that gold cannot be spent. You can't hold it. You can't wear it. No jewelry, stores, no bank vaults. Just treasure, drifting quietly, untouched for billions of years. And perhaps that's where its real value lies. You imagine reaching it, not with greed, but with wonder. Not to claim, but to study, to learn. Because these metals, they're more than currency. They are tools. Platinum is used in electronics, in clean energy, in medical devices. Cobalt powers batteries. Nickel strengthens steel. These elements build futures. But first, you must bring them home. And that's not simple. Mining in space is not like mining on Earth. There is no soil, no air, no water to wash, or gravity is gentle. Machines must be smart. You picture robots against some drilling, some scooping, some melting metal out of rock with focused sunlight, and still nothing moves fast, because in space, patience is wealth. You breathe in, slow and steady. Now you imagine the moment of return, a small capsule streaking through the atmosphere. Inside, a pinch of dust. Not much, but precious, because it tells a story. Where the rock came from, how old it is, what secrets it holds, and maybe, someday, more will follow. Whole shipments of asteroid metal delivered to orbit, refined in weightless factories. But even then, the gold is not for crowns, it's for circuits, for clean air systems, for powering new lives far from Earth. You picture future builders using asteroid metal to craft spacecraft, space stations, habitats on the Moon or Mars. No need to launch from Earth. Just build where you are with what you have. This is the quiet revolution of asteroid mining, not greed, but self-sufficiency. Because what makes something valuable isn't just rarity, it's what it allows you to do. Platinum lets you filter toxins. Nickel lets you create strength. These elements, mined from floating rocks, may help humans survive beyond Earth. And what if, over time, these metals become common? What if platinum is no longer rare? Would its price fall? Would its glamour fade? Maybe. But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the real value of these missions isn't measured in dollars, but in doors opened. You drift deeper now, because in this dream, value changes. It shifts from possession to potential, from luxury to utility, from gold that decorates to gold that connects. You remember how rare metals helped us make computers, how they made clean engines, how they created medicines. And you realize a single asteroid could power not just one invention, but entire movements. Still, the question lingers. If we flood Earth with precious metals, do we risk imbalance? Do we change markets, disrupt livelihoods, spark conflict? Possibly. That's why space law matters. That's why international agreements must grow as our reach grows. You imagine not just explorers and engineers, but diplomats, philosophers, ethicists shaping the future of asteroid mining. And in this world, we learn that abundance must be handled with wisdom. You float again in your thoughts. Some argue that mining asteroids is too expensive, too risky. But every mission teaches. Every gram retrieved is knowledge. Every failure is a lesson. And knowledge, like gold, is a resource. Imagine a child, years from now, holding a small sample of asteroid dust in a classroom. They turn it in their hand, amazed that something so tiny traveled so far, waited so long, and now whispers secrets into their palm. This is the true treasure, not just metal, but meaning, because when we reach for asteroids, we reach for understanding. We connect our lives to the fabric of the solar system. We see ourselves not just as residents of Earth, but as participants in a broader, older story. The rock carries memory, not ours, but the sun's. It remembers collisions, freezing heat. It remembers the birth of planets, the scattering of elements, the dance of gravity, and now it remembers us. You breathe again, soft even. You feel the weight of this thought, not heavy, but real, that maybe wealth isn't something we own. It's something we unlock, a key to growth, to progress, to peace. And perhaps, as we learn to mine space, we also learn to redefine value. not in what we take, but in what we learn, in how we share, in who we become. You picture a future station in orbit built from asteroid metals, powered by solar sails, hosting voices from every language, a place not owned but stewarded. And then you ask yourself gently, what if the greatest treasure these asteroids offer isn't what we mine from them, but what we find within ourselves when we choose how to use it. Your eyes grow heavy, but your thoughts float upward. You imagine a future not grounded, but drifting, not rooted in soil, but suspended in starlight. And in this future, we are building, not on Earth, but in space. Once, all building began with stone we cut from mountains, shaped from forests, molded from clay. Our homes were cradled by the earth. But now, you dream of homes shaped from asteroids, from dust that never knew the wind. The rock is already there, cold, waiting. It does not ask to be mined. It simply offers itself to those who approach with care. You picture a robotic arm reaching out in silence. It carves gently, not with violence, but with precision. It smooths a surface, melts a seam, seals a joint, and slowly, piece by piece, something begins to rise in zero gravity. A wall, a frame, a pod. This is construction in the sky. No trucks, no scaffolding, just orbit and balance. Just solar power and patience. You breathe slowly, imagining this new kind of architecture. Rooms shaped for rotation. Windows that face stars. Corridors that curve with the flow of movement. Everything lighter, everything stronger, everything learned from the void. Asteroids provide more than just metal. Some carry water, locked in stone water that can be extracted, filtered, and split into hydrogen and oxygen, fuel, air, life. You imagine tanks filling with vapor in the cold, then warming into steam, then burning into thrust. Ships refueled, not on Earth, but in orbit. A fuel station made from what once was thought to be just a rock, and then, more than tanks, shelter. Imagine carving a chamber inside an asteroid's heart. Thick walls protect from radiation. The rock holds warmth. You line it with light, with growing plants. You fill it with quiet hums and soft machines. A refuge. A place where humans can rest between journeys, not a station, a haven. You imagine children floating in these halls, reading, laughing, writing messages home. Their voices bounce in low gravity, soft and musical. Outside, stars swirl slowly. Inside, humanity expands not in conquest, but in care. This isn't science fiction. It is the beginning of something real. NASA and private companies already test 3D printing structures using lunar dust. The same could be done with asteroid material. No need to launch every brick from Earth. We build with what is already out there. We build smarter. You think of spider webs, how spiders use what's around them to shape shelter. We do the same. But in orbit, in microgravity, in partnership with machines, a habitat grows slowly, like coral in the sea, modular, expandable, adaptive. It begins small, just enough for a crew. Then it grows. It gains solar wings, greenhouses, labs. One day, even art galleries, music rooms, gardens curled in sunlit glass. Because space is not only for surviving, it is for living. And to live, we must build. You drift through this vision, construction drones humming softly, printing supports, rovers ferrying rock, engineers guiding progress from Earth and later from orbit, new jobs, new rhythms, new poetry. Imagine writing a poem while watching the Earth rise and fall through a window of asteroid stone. You breathe deeper, and as you breathe, the vision expands. One asteroid becomes many, a network of outposts, supply stations, research hubs, all linked by quiet ships and steady signals. A web of possibility stretching through space, not built in haste, not driven by hunger, but shaped slowly with care. These stations don't conquer space. They adapt to it, and because they are built from space itself, from asteroid metal, ice, and dust, they belong to no one and everyone. Like libraries, like seeds, you imagine launching not rockets, but pieces of hope, structures grown in orbit, homes that hold stories, dreams, silence. You rest in this thought that perhaps our greatest legacy won't be the ships we send, but the places we build where stars become neighbors, and as your breath steadies, one final image flickers in your mind. If we build among the stars, could we also plant something there? Something alive, something that grows. You close your eyes and imagine space not as empty, but as shared. A place not owned, but open. You picture an asteroid, a gray stone, spinning slowly through silence. It has no flag, no borders. It belongs to no nation, no person. And yet, someone will arrive. A ship will land. A robot will begin to drill. And the question floats quietly beside you. Who does this belong to? Not just the rock, but the act, the choice, the consequence. You drift deeper into the question because it has no sharp edges, only echoes. It leads you through law, through ethics, through dreams and fears. It asks what kind of world we are building in the sky. In 1967, before men walked on the moon, Earth wrote its first space treaty, a document that said, "Space is for all. No country can claim the moon, or Mars, or an asteroid. No weapons in orbit, no ownership of the heavens." You imagine that treaty like a whisper of hope words, written by people who looked up and wanted peace. But time moves forward, and the questions grow louder. If a company lands on an asteroid and mines it, does it own the material? Can nations license such missions? Should they? You breathe slowly, letting these thoughts settle like dust. In 2015, new laws appeared from the US, from Luxembourg, from others saying, yes, you can own what you extract, not the asteroid, but the resources, like fishing in the sea, like collecting rain. But space is not the sea, and an asteroid is not a cloud. You imagine 1,000 missions, each from different places, all aiming at the same rock. Who gets to arrive first? Who decides the rules? Who speaks for the silence? The Moon Agreement of 1979 tried to answer that. It said, the resources of space are the common heritage of humankind, that any benefits should be shared, that the process must be fair. Few nations signed it, and so we drift in uncertainty, not war, not peace, but possibility. And that, perhaps, is more delicate than either. You picture future meetings in glass rooms, orbiting Earth, leaders and lawyers, scientists and storytellers, asking, what does fair look like up here? Because fairness is not just law, it is feeling, it is balance, Should wealth from space help only the rich? Should the discoveries be open? Should children everywhere have access to asteroid dust, to stories from the stars? You imagine a child in a small village holding a sample bought but shared, a gift from the sky, and you wonder, can ownership ever feel that gentle? Space law is still young, like a language just learning its first sentences, and you, floating now, feel its softness. It does not yet shout, it listens. It asks, can a rock that formed before Earth be possessed? Can you own something older than time? Or do we borrow it for a while, then pass it on? You picture missions that mark their arrival, not with flags, but with care, that leave no scars, that share their maps, that give back as much as they take. Some voices say this is naive, that competition drives progress, that ownership sparks innovation, that without reward there is no risk worth taking. Others say, perhaps the stars ask us for something new. You imagine a council not of governments, but of guardians, representatives from many lands, many cultures, not just scientists, but poets, elders, children, dreamers. They ask not only who owns, but who listens, who heals, who protects, because some asteroids hold metals, others hold water, but all hold memory. They are ancient, they are fragile, they are alone, and in reaching them, we must choose. Do we treat them as minds or as mirrors? You float through these thoughts, slowly, gently. No answer is final. Each opens another, like turning stars in your hand, and you begin to see, maybe, space law isn't about rules. Maybe it's about relationships, with each other, with the past, with the future. You imagine an asteroid mind, not just for profit, a global mission, a common effort. The data open, the benefits spread. Maybe it starts not in courtrooms, but in classrooms, in bedtime stories, in chapters like this, where you and others imagine together what kind of sky we want to grow into. You breathe deeper, because, in the end, to ask who owns the asteroids is to ask who we want to be, a species that takes, or a species that tends. And as you float in this question, as your thoughts soften, like morning clouds, another idea begins to form, one not of law, but of life. If no one owns the asteroids, could someone one day live on them? Could we not possess them, but become part of them? You lie still, but something deep inside you stirs. Not worry, not restlessness, just wonder. A remembering. You are not separate from space. You are part of it. Close your eyes. Feel your chest rise and fall. Feel the weight of your body against the bed, and then feel beyond that the elements that make you, carbon, calcium, iron, oxygen, trace elements spun into your muscles, your skin, your breath, all of it once born in stars. The iron in your blood was forged in a supernova when a giant star reached the end of its life and exploded outward. That blast seeded the galaxy with the building blocks of life. And those bits drifted, gathered, clumped. They formed planets, oceans, trees, people. You are the echo of stellar fire, walking in the shape of a human. You are not visiting space. You are space, made conscious. So when we look to asteroids and distant rocks and ancient dust, we are not just exploring, we are remembering. Mining the sky is not taking from something foreign, it is rediscovering our roots. You imagine drifting in silence, brushing your hand across the surface of an asteroid. The rock is rough, cold, but not unfamiliar. It is kin. It carries the same stories that live in your cells. Your body is a continuation of cosmic history, a poem that started with light dot, and the next chapter of that poem is being written now, by rovers that roam and ships that land, by people who look up and wonder not just what they can find, but who they are. You are not just a passenger on Earth. You are a thread in a vast unfolding fabric. The same energy that powers the stars flows through you. The same particles that spin through space spin within you. And because of that, your place is not limited to one planet. It stretches, it floats, it invites. You breathe deeper, and in your mind you float through time. Back to the beginning, to the first stars, the first collisions, the forming of galaxies. You move slowly, carried on waves of gravity, past clouds of dust and gas. You watch the birth of suns, then you drift forward again to the formation of our solar system, a swirl of particles, spinning tighter, pulling together, rocks and fire, ice and air, the young Earth taking shape, and the leftover pieces. They became asteroids. So when we study them, we study what came before us, the ingredients that didn't make it into Earth, the untouched recipes of the cosmos. Asteroids are time capsules, floating archives, and still they connect to you, because the elements in your bones once swirled in that same early soup. You are not a bystander. You are a continuation, a new chapter in a story billions of years long. You imagine scientists opening asteroid samples, holding them gently in gloved hands. Inside, a speck of material older than any mountain, older than the Earth. Something silent and small that has traveled for eons, now being read by human eyes. It is like opening a letter addressed to all of us. A cosmic message that says, you come from here. Your place in the universe is not marked by distance, but by relationship. You are not far from the stars. You are their echo, walking in warmth. So when we build in the sky, when we catch asteroids, when we touch their surfaces, we are not conquering. We are reconnecting. You imagine a future astronaut standing on an asteroid, looking down at Earth. In that silence, they whisper not ownership, but awe, a return, a reunion, and maybe that's what space mining truly is. Not extraction, but remembrance. A way to trace our history, to understand our materials, to learn how life assembled itself into breath and thought. You are a question asked by starlight, and you are beginning to understand the answer, because in that starlight there is hydrogen, simple, pure, formed right after the Big Bang, still burning in suns, still flowing through your body. In that light, there is oxygen, formed in stars, and now moving through your blood. There is nitrogen, the quiet breath of atmospheres. There is carbon, the flexible bond maker, the architect of life. And so, when you hear about asteroid mining, remember this: we are not just after metals, we are after memory. The physical memory of the universe, held in stone. Some asteroids contain amino acids of life. How extraordinary that the ingredients for life float freely in space, that what it takes to begin a cell is scattered through the dark. What if life didn't begin only on Earth? What if it began many places, seeded by drifting rocks? You imagine tiny beginnings, organic whispers, riding comets, falling onto warm planets, testing new soil. Maybe you're not just part of the story. Maybe you're one version of it. You rest in this thought. It is too big to grasp all at once. But it is comforting. Like knowing your family is large, ancient, and cosmic. The sky does not end above your head. It continues through you. So your place in the universe is not small. It is delicate, precious, meaningful. You are not insignificant. You are improbable, miraculous, connected. And as your breath softens, you realize something even more beautiful. If you are made of stars, then every step you take on Earth is a piece of the cosmos, learning how to walk.